I was born against the backdrop of a world that's been at war for over 100 years. At this point in time, through endless fighting, two dominant factions had emerged. There was the overwhelming numbers and battle-tested strategy of the old-fashioned Unitrad, and the new technologies of the more experimental Nova Syndicate. I personally grew up in the territory of the Nova Syndicate, in a small town known mostly for its industrial facilities. My family was by all means an average one by Nova standards, and I enjoyed a relatively stable early childhood. At a pretty early age, I, like most people, was expected to contribute to the war effort, even if it was indirectly. That's how I ended up working in, and being educated about, the industrial side of warfare. And while assembling tools and simple weapons was interesting enough, I never quite felt at home here. I needed something that allowed me to express myself, something bigger than a life toiling away at the same machines day in, day out. And years later, that opportunity arrived for me, or at least, I thought so. One day, the Nova Syndicate sent over one of their generals to demand that we change up our production significantly. Instead of standard Nova small arms, we will be working on one of their biggest secret projects. We were told that this, if we worked hard and persevered, would define us for decades to come. We were told that this technology could finally put a stop to Unitrad's victory streak. We were promised greatness, and I bought into it completely. This project would be the most essential weapon that Nova had produced over its long lifetime, designed specifically to destroy Unitrad's fearsome, near-indestructible tank units. For the next few years I worked on parts I've never seen before, and things I couldn't even begin to tell you the purpose of. But eventually, the first batch of these secret weapons were complete. They were unlike anything the world has ever seen, and they were named tank killers. These units were bipedal machines with cannons that could punch through a Unitrad's tank armor and kill the crew inside. And as our revolutionary new weapons were unveiled, factory personnel members were asked if they would like to ride the machines they helped build into battle. I figured this was it for me. This would be my moment to taste the greatness I'd been promised years early. And as if by some miracle, they accepted me. I was trained in everything I needed to know about these tank killers, from their operation to their tactical advantages, standard deployment procedures, how to target tanks, maintenance, everything. I was given a rank, a uniform, and a place in the Nova Syndicate. And about a year later, me and the experimental mechanized division I belonged to were ready to roll out. I thought that this was my moment, that this would be everything my life had led up to so far. But I was wrong. While the tank killers themselves proved effective, and this first test was deemed a resounding success, I and some others weren't so lucky. We'd taken our positions and prepared to ambush a convoy of Unitrad tanks, and while me and my unit managed to take them down, we lost several of our pilots. I was nearly one of them. A piece of shrapnel got lodged in my tank killer's cockpit and missed me by just a hair. Well, I didn't know at the time, apparently it had hit the engine and caused some of the dangerous chemicals within to land on my shoulder. After coming back from our mission, I realized that this was no life for me. While the Nova Syndicate seemed a whole lot friendlier than Unitrad, it still didn't give me much of a choice. Either I waste away my life in my hometown's factories, or I die on the front lines. I did only 2 more missions afterwards before I decided to leave. While I knew running away was a risky move, I found that it was worth it as long as I could finally find something worth fighting for. While I found myself staying in all sorts of places temporarily, I eventually found myself a place to call home. Some abandoned industrial hall in the middle of nowhere might seem like a cold, unforgiving place, but you'd be surprised how quickly something can feel nice and comfy with a little interior decorating. I lived here for a little while, and it's while digging through some old communications equipment that I finally found something to dedicate myself to. Apparently, if you screw around with the old MG-84 model comm station, you can patch into frequencies from other timelines, and that's how I found you guys. For over a year, I've made time out to communicate with the people of this alternate timeline, slowly learning about your world, your joys, and your struggles. We've gone on many wonderful adventures together, and I thought I'd finally found peace. But alas, things weren't that easy. There's something I have to tell you about. For the past month or two, I've been hunted. You might have noticed strange broadcast interruptions, warnings, redacted messages, and weird documents lately. Truth is, the Nova Syndicate wants me back. Or dead. Makes sense. I mean, I know all about their tank killer units, and I'm sure they'd rather keep those a secret. I've tried making preparations for when they'd bust down my doors, but it wasn't enough. I was kept in one of their facilities, namely Castle Wall Prison Complex. I thought that'd be it for me, but I found some way to do my broadcasts from the shadows. It was during my first checkup there that it was noticed my arm was not well. The chemical spill during my first mission seems to have seriously affected it, and if the Nova Syndicate would ever want me back, they'd have to remove it. I figured at this point my fate was sealed. My arm was surgically removed, I was locked behind bars, and even if I did manage to escape, I wouldn't make it very far. But it seemed my luck hadn't run out yet. Early morning, about a month later, I overheard reports of some kind of trouble at the front gates. Not much later, I heard the guards mention that whatever it was unlike anything they'd ever seen. That it was a monster of some kind, and that it was coming straight to my location. I didn't know what to believe for a while until I was met with the sight of a very familiar eldritch abomination. Leaving Castlewall Prison behind, I went back to the industrial hall that I call home. With the help of some of my friends, I eventually managed to build a new cybernetic arm to replace my old one, and now I'm back and better than ever. I'll continue to do my broadcasts in search of more people for our little establishment here, or the Brass Battalion as I've decided to call it, so that we can live freely on our own, cut loose from groups like Nova or Unitrad. In the end, their war might rage on for another 100 years, but that doesn't mean that we can't already live free.